at some point we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live that would be most Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch, where everyone's a critic. And I don't know, there are two bridges on there are two Bay bridges on our new logo. I didn't even notice that. See, this is why we have people in the chat. They notice things and they nitpick every little fucking thing about the show except for the way that it sounds. Anyway, you can support this project at patreon.com/echoplex or at eplexstore.store. If you donate at the $5 or higher level, you get the members versions of all of our shows, and you would already have the members version of Used to Be a Spy. We recorded that last night. I had the Media Wench, our returning champion, and I had Mr. Brandon, aka the Taxman, on, because he is a big fan of Burn Notice, and he was so nervous, and he did a fantastic job on the show. So we're gonna have Mr. Brandon back on, and we'll probably have the Councilman back on, because the Councilman is an elite film critic, we found out. So that's fucking fantastic. Anyway, I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Yes, with you as always, the councilman. Good to see you, producer Dave. You can find me downloading that episode of Used to Be a Spy. I'm anxious to listen to Brandon, the tax man, get down. I am, yes, a new convert to the beauty that is Burn Notice, the lovely disaster that is Burn Notice. And I'm looking forward to appearing on many future episodes. I know the good wife is exceedingly excited about that new product from Echoplex Media. So both listening and potentially as a participant, because she is also a big fan. So looking forward to more of that. And you can also find me on Blue Sky now. You can find me on, I think I'm still on X, but I don't really go there very often. And more often than not, you can find me up in public comment at City Council because I got something up my butt about something or other. Anyway. Fantastic.
So we have, looks like we have a new format a little bit for this, which I kind of like because we've been going like super long lately, which I'm not helping right now. So it looks like we got a shorter list of stories. And then if we have extra time, we got some honorable mention stories. So if it isn't quite 9 p.m. Pacific or whatever, maybe you'll get the honorable mention stories. And the honorable mention stories are going to be on the show notes regardless. So if we don't get to them and you're curious, maybe what else we've been looking at or whatever, you can always get it from the show notes, which you can get on the live show in Twitch by typing bang down ballot or exclamation point down ballot in the chat, or in the show notes for the podcast. You can just click the link there. The only place I don't put the show notes, oh no, I do. I think in the member show, I put the show notes as well. I don't know what the fuck's going on my own podcast network. Anyway, what do we got for leading off?
We're coming back to a story, not a specific story, but it's a story more in general that we've been covering in the context of San Jose State volleyball and some other local affairs. But it seems like everyone, including the governor and our president, have their underpants in a bunch over trans athletes and whether or not biological men should be competing in biological women's sports. So we're going to learn about one out athlete who competed recently at the state track championships and the sort of ripple effects that has caused, both good and bad.
And now to California and the debate over trans athletes in girls' sports. A rule change allowing one trans athlete to take home several medals. This morning, new fallout over a California track meet after state officials defied President Trump's executive order banning trans athletes from competing in girls' sports. 16-year-old A.B. Hernandez was all smiles, posing with the other winners at California State Track and Field Championship over the weekend. The teen taking silver in long jump and tying for gold in the high jump and triple jump. But in the stands,
I'm here to save my daughter's future.
Protesters outraged that A.B., assigned male at birth, was allowed to compete.
I don't think it was fair. If I had a daughter, I wouldn't allow my daughter to compete against the person.
A.B.'s participation came amid a push from lawmakers to ban trans students from the competition.
The girls competing, they are not okay with this. They know it's unfair and they do not want to compete against a boy. And the truth was, he was not born in the wrong body.
Last week, President Trump threatened to withhold federal funds from California unless A.B. was barred from competing. But instead of banning A.B., the California Interscholastic Federation, which oversees school sporting events, opted to change the rules, expanding the number of athletes per event and handing out an extra medal in any event where A.B. won. Governor Gavin Newsom supported the rule change. As for the other winners,
it has nothing to do with me.
Some say the politics surrounding the event.
I wanted to hear more what she had to say. They just cut her off after saying it has nothing to do with me. Right. This story's seems a little slanted here.
Well, you can only have black people appear on screen, I think, for a certain amount of time during any newscast. I think that's some sort of rule from the corporate level. So she probably got, that she filled the quota for this story.
Distraction than A.B.'s participation.
That she doesn't deserve any of the hate. And as an adult, you shouldn't be hating on a 16-year-old.
The Justice Department.
Oh, the other athletes seem pissed.
Right, they're up in arms.
Sex discrimination laws.
So, like, my take on this has been consistent the whole time, and I feel like I can speak for the entire network. First of all, sports are fun. This is like high school level, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if this was sanctioned by the schools or if this is an independent thing. I don't know enough about it because you know what I don't fucking care about? Fucking girls' teenage sports, dude. I'm just, I mean, like, good for them. I'm glad they're playing sports, and I'm sure their families are all really, glad that they got to go to this thing and whatnot. But I think that there are sanctioning bodies for this stuff for a reason. And unless I am willing to try to join the sanctioning body for this thing, then I don't know. I don't even know I didn't even know this nobody would even know this happened.
Right. I mean, so to answer the question you had, this was the state championship. There's the CIF, the California Interscholastic actually, I don't know what the I stands for. Sorry, but it's the CIF basically that oversees high school sports in California, and they're the ones that run state championships for basketball, football, track and field. So there is a governing body. It is a quasi-public governing body, but not really, right? This isn't like I don't believe it's like governmental. There's no elected body that oversees it. However, there might be some state government oversight of it, but they generally do their own thing and they run with their own rules. And in this case, came up with some sort of ham-handed, half-assed compromise where, okay, we're going to give a second bronze medal, right, or a pewter medal or something, right, to another athlete if this trans athlete were to, God forbid, win or medal in one of these competitions, and it's just like, why? One, to your point entirely, like why do we give a shit? Why do we give a shit?
Well, it's not that we don't give a shit. Like it's good for young people to play sports, right?
Right. It's more like why should we give a shit? You choose. They've chosen. They've identified who they want to be. This is who they want to be. Let them be who they want to be. It's just that's all or who they are. Like that's all there is to it. To me, in any context, sports or theater or whatever, I don't care what it is. It's like I just don't understand. I guess it's just I don't understand. I've always just thought everyone was cool just being who they are and should be allowed to be who they are. And I'm coming from, I'm a sports guy. Like I love sports. I enjoy high school sports. I like going to watch kids compete because you know what? They're not getting paid and they're not like, a lot of these kids aren't going to go pro or get a scholarship to do this work, right? This is the last chance they're going to have to compete in their sports in their whole lives. And they throw all of themselves into it, right? And it's really fun to watch that kind of passion. You don't see that in professional sports. You don't see that in even semi-professional sports or even college sports because it's all about the money, right? So this is just about the love. And so have some love. And like you said, her competitors sound completely pissed off about the fact that people are pissed off, right? They seem pissed at people for giving her hate. And it's like, get over it. Like this is where we're at.
Right. It was weird though, because the one gal that was speaking like with the sign, the gal who was there earlier, the protester said, "Oh, the other athletes don't like this." And then like they took the one other athlete was that black gal that she got like 5 words out, which is I guess the maximum allowed by the fucking news for a young black woman to speak on the news.
Apparently,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But the other one, they gave more time, and they're like, well, she's like, could you leave her? Basically asked, could you just leave this girl? Like, why are you worried about this 16-year-old?
Why are you stressing on this? Right. I'm sure now, to be fair, I'm sure that having interviewed a lot of high school athletes for stories when I used to do that kind of work as a journalist, if you'll believe it. I was the journalist before the journalist, or the reporter before the reporter. Sorry. They're not always the most talkative or eloquent, let's just say. I mean, like layer being a teenager on top of being an athlete, right? And so there may have been just very brief snippets that they got that were kind of quote unquote usable, right, or worthy of inclusion in the story. That's across the board. But that being said, I think they were the most cogent points that were made in the whole story, were those very brief snippets just saying,
one girl's like, ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right. It's got nothing to do with me. I don't, why are you asking me basically about this? And to be fair, I think I having been around enough young people, I do a lot of work with young people and teenagers, especially and high school kids. On the whole, they completely share that kind of attitude. It's like, you want to be who you want to be, be who you want to be. People are just people these days. And I think they understand that a lot better than us old fogies do. And they certainly understand it a lot better than some of these kids like that, those girls that were like outraged, right? Who obviously grew up in households and in environments and around people who were similarly outraged by these kinds of things, right? I don't think, I think that we are in some ways formed by that, and our values are formed by that. So I constantly tell my mother and my family, like, and my friends and teachers, right, thank you, because at some point, you put me on this path instead of the other path, right? I wouldn't be this person I am necessarily if it wasn't for that. So for that guidance and that space, right? So parents, my only caveat to you is raise your kids right. Raise your kids to respect each other for whoever they are.
And not for nothing, I feel like this is a Trojan horse for like a bigger culture war thing that's going on right now. Because no matter what the culture war thing is, right? It's about the fucking children. The satanic panic, it was about the children. When everybody was worried about the gay teachers, it was about the children. It's always about, anytime there's some kind of fucking moral panic going on, it's always about the fucking children, but it's not really about the children.
Right. And it's hurting the children in this case, too. And now, I do want to point out, and this is from watching another story, the young athlete in question and her mother, or their mother, have been completely out front and almost to an activist extent about this issue. So they are on the front lines, which is why they were able to identify her and name her. They're not supposed to, they're not, or even show her on
I think they just used her initials.
They did, but I don't know if she goes by AB or not, but they're not even supposed to be able to identify by name or even show them on camera without consent. So her family is very much out on this issue, and they are on the forefront of the activism on it. That's why they were able to show and
I kind of feel bad for the person who finishes fourth and gets the Mulligan medal. Like,
right.
Like,
do I have to? Do I have to?
I kind of understand the impetus there, sort of, but I kind of feel bad now that the person that gets the Mulligan medal. I don't know. I think that's fucked up. Like, first of all, for this trans girl, first of all, either let her compete or don't. Right? Not my fucking my track meet. Right? Either let her compete or don't. But then I don't know, to make this all just a dumber compromise. Now the fourth place person gets a medal made of lead or asbestos or something.
Right. You're making the asterisk into a neon sign, right? Like and just further. And it's like, does that person have to accept the pewter medal or whatever? The right? I don't know. But yeah, you're creating more trouble than you're solving.
So there's two things going on here. Actually, I think one thing that's going on obviously is the Trojan horse, just about like the ongoing onslaught against queer people by the Moms for Liberty and Project 2025, the extreme culture war right. But then I also think there's some way in which a lot of these people don't like the idea of women's sports in the first place.
Title IX, yeah.
And I think that is kind of baked into here in ways that are like much more subtle, harder to spot, and maybe wasn't even expressed in this story. But I've definitely seen on the, Axe the Everything app, where some people are like, well, this is a non-issue because what are women doing lifting weights or whatever? And I'm like, all right, well, you're the biggest fuckwad in this whole conversation, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and it's also in that regard, it's a great point. It's very deep seated, right? And it's been 50 years, I think, almost since Title IX was implemented, or at least supposed to be implemented, which guarantees equal protection for women's sports, collegiate sports at least, and I think that applies to high school as well too. Yes, it does, and K through 12 sports. So there is that underlying current for sure, and probably lingering, whatever you want to call it, animus around that issue and sensitivity around that issue too, that's pouring over here, and in weird ways, right? I'm sure there's some women who are, see themselves as protectors of women's sports, right? Like, we fought for this, we fought for equal protection, we fought for this ability to compete, and in some sort of misguided way, like, they see this as protecting that, right?
Those
that
people
right.
are called TERFs.
Right. Right. So there's, and then it brings them together, who would normally be maybe reasonable-minded people together with the MAGA crowd and the Maha crowd, right? And lumps them all in together and create some unfortunate bedfellows and unfortunate alliances that hopefully will not. You would hope would not spread beyond this sort of these kind of cultural issues, but really that's the way that these movements start. That's the way that Donald Trump got elected, right? Is by building coalitions of unlikely bedfellows.
And I think
just enough.
There's a way in which do you remember back in the day where like gay athletes were excluded from the Olympics and they had like a segregated, like they tried to call it the gay Olympics, and then the Olympics people sued them. I hope that's not where this fucking ends up.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, right? We'll see. That's not a very pleasant thought. Sorry, I'm a little taken aback by that. I don't know.
Right. I hope this doesn't end up in the separate but equal.
Right. I mean, you've got the Olympics and the Paralympics at this point. So do we get the Olympics, the Paralympics, and the Translympics? Is that where it has to be? I hope not.
The Paralympics makes total sense. It's like, it's like people with
physically cannot do these things.
And I'm sorry, there's nothing on the planet more wholesome than the Paralympics. And I'd be willing to bet the right wing's coming for that eventually too, actually.
Right. That's the thing. Like what's the end game, right? They came for them, and I'm not one of them, so I didn't stand up, right? The old maxim. And then there was no one to stand up for me. That's where we're headed slowly but surely. But the more we push back, the more networks like Equifax Media expose the bullshit. Hopefully we can move the needle, but it's a big needle to push.
All right, so this next story we have, this is in Winners and Losers, where nobody wins unless you were rooting for somebody and then they lose. There's a timestamp on this clip. Is that intentional?
Yes, only because I watched the clip and it didn't get into just like KPIX normally does. It didn't get into the story we wanted that the headline is about until about a minute into the clip.
Okay, no problem. Just making sure. It's a well-produced live show, everybody.
We do our best.
Took office. All right, now the San Francisco public defender says his office is overloaded. And as Kenny Choi reports, it's even had to stop taking cases once a week.
San Francisco public defender Mano Raju says he's concerned with a rising number of cases and what that means for his clients and an overworked staff.
We're constitutionally obligated to provide an ethical and competent defense to anyone who is charged with a crime in San Francisco.
Data presented during a recent Board of Supervisors meeting shows San Francisco has the highest caseloads compared to surrounding counties. There's been a 31% increase in filings over the last 3 years.
It gets to a certain point where the cases are too many to provide the level of representation that the Constitution demands. It's imperative on us to reduce our caseload.
That's why Raju's office has stopped taking any new cases 1 day a week. The public defender and district attorney's office both point to an increase in arrests by the San Francisco police as the reason behind the overwhelming number of cases. Jenkins says the uptick in arrests is the result of more widespread enforcement of quality of life crimes, including public drug use, encampments, and retail theft.
When you give a fentanyl dealer a misdemeanor, that's effectively decriminalizing it. When you refuse to prosecute any quality of life crime, we've seen that before. And we know where that got us.
Raju believes there's a better way to improve public safety through diversion programs rather than ramping up arrests and prosecutions, especially for quality of life crimes.
If they get arrested, they're coming back out again. And it's really important that we connect people so they can put themselves in a position where they can move to a better place in life by connecting them with the appropriate services.
Both offices say cases are also taking longer to resolve. Part of the reason is that more cameras across the city and police technology have resulted in more evidence for attorneys to review. The public defender's move to stop taking new cases 1 day a week comes as the mayor seeks to cut 15% from all city department budgets.
Both offices are facing budget cuts as Mayor Lori tries to close an $820 million budget gap by June. Jenkins has pushed back on Lori's bid to cut more than $5.4 million from her office, most recently at the Board of Supervisors meeting.
So the public defender's office could do something pretty fucking smart here. You have a right under the Constitution to a speedy trial. It would be risky for all involved, for the defendants, because that wouldn't give the defense any time to prepare. But just now that this is happening, just demand a speedy trial for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Put the onus on the system.
Yeah, jam the system up, because it's not on the fucking defendant, right? The defendant is now, if the defendant doesn't have money for bail, they're spending more time in county jail. That means necessarily people who will be acquitted or who will eventually get plea bargains where they're released are spending more time in county jail before they've been convicted of any crime. Now, I know that this is hugely risky and would probably lead to, like, I don't know what the shakeout on this is. Like, how would the district courts handle this? Would they just start dropping cases? Would they, how do you convene the jury? Like, how do you do all this? But it seems like that's like the only thing the public defender's office can do to advocate for their clients in this circumstance. And it puts the DA in a fucking fucked up position, but that's an elected official. Is the public defender in San Francisco elected? I forget.
I don't believe so. No, I believe they are appointed by the Board of Supervisors.
Oh, well,
I think they're at that level, or the mayor. I forget if it's the mayor or the Board of Supervisors.
It certainly puts the mayor Ed 210. It certainly puts him in some kind of way, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's really why this story. I would have. This is the kind of story that might, get passed over or forgotten, or I might miss it doing the docket some week, or miss the significance. But I took a look, and it really, I'm glad that they touched on it, that this is a byproduct of what you get when you create a police state. I wish they're calling it quality of life. I wish the news would call it broken windows policies, because that's what this 100%.
is.
That's 100% what it is. Yes,
and that
absolutely.
So they're using like a euphemism that people like, because it used to be just called broken windows. Everybody called it broken windows. It wasn't like, didn't have a nasty stink to it. Now, primarily because of New York City, it's got a nasty stink on it. And now they're going to call it quality of life. We're talking about broken windows policing here, and it does not work.
Well, and wait a minute, and quality of life will have the same stink on it that broken windows does, right?
Right.
It's just another way of saying the same thing, and people eventually get tired of hearing the bullshit. And this is what you get. Like, Mayor Ed 210 or Mayor Ed 209, you want to arrest more unhoused people just for being unhoused and not going where you want them, moving to where you want them to move, moving out of the way. Sure. Okay. More caseload. Do you want to, put up speed cameras and red light cameras everywhere and cite people?
You had plenty of money for that.
Plenty of money for that. We're going to cover that in a little bit, right? Then this is a byproduct of what you get, right? You get a system that gets jammed up, but they don't care is the thing. And like they don't care that the public defender's office is jammed up and has to cut their budget. They're even the ones like asking and telling the public defender,
quick, do you know what
have
it
to cut
means
your budget.
By 1 day a week they don't take new cases? Is it like in Oakland where the public defender's office also serves some of the function of legal aid by taking walk-ins? Because I know in Oakland there's the district attorney or the public defender's office, and I think they share that responsibility, strangely enough, with the DA in Alameda County. I'm learning a little bit more now that I live in Oakland, but I'm wondering, is it that, are they taking walk-ins for people who are having like landlord disputes and whatnot? Is that the thing that they're cutting?
The public defender, I don't think works that way. It makes perfect sense with where it makes sense with legal aid, like they can just refuse to accept new walking cases on Friday, right? I don't see how the same people that would be applying for legal aid wouldn't come on Thursday or Saturday and just jam up those days a little more. So I don't get how that would work in this context. I don't understand how that works. Like, they're working
like, don't get arrested on Thursday,
right? Like exactly, like they're working off of a docket of people I don't know that people come to the public defender or get their representation in any sort of process other than you've been cited, you've been arrested, right? And now you're in the system and you don't have an attorney and you need the public defender, and it happens to be, like you said, oh, it's Thursday. Oh, well, you're fucking SOL. The public defender doesn't take good luck. You have your constitutional right. So I don't understand how this would help them in any way other than giving them one day.
Just a quick explanation of what that meant, right? Because it would have only taken a couple sentences to say what that meant, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it would. I just don't see how it helps other than giving the public defenders, the attorneys themselves, more just a breather, right, between like constantly having to intake new cases and be, doing all that evidential gathering and study and work and research that they have to do, and writing and reporting and everything else. So just to give them a breather, I think that's the only thing I can see, because I don't see again how someone gets arrested on Thursday and it's like, well, sorry, dude, wrong day. You should have committed your crimes on Friday, right? Or allegedly committed your crimes on Friday, or gotten arrested on Friday for no reason, which happens quite a bit. So yeah, it's unclear. You're right. We could do a little better journalism here. Maybe one better journalism, and explain to us what that means.
And the only cop show that ever even addressed this was The Wire, and you were seeing the detectives, not the beat cops, but the detectives on The Wire were actually frustrated with this. They wanted to get bigger cases. They wanted to chase down places where the money from the drugs was actually entering the political system, and they kept getting stopped at every point. And then the people that were helping them were then told to just do just bust random people for having a vial of cocaine or whatever, and it just fucking gummed up the system so that they couldn't do the high end enforcement work that they wanted to do. Mind you, this is a fictionalized show, but I wonder if within the police department, in the investigative part, if this sentiment is there too. I don't know. Fuck the police. But the detective isn't the one the detective is the one that's going to investigate the person that killed your grandma. And I wonder if they just feel that all this sort of broken window style policing is gumming up the works and making it harder for them to do what I would call real quality of life stuff. If there is racketeering going on in your neighborhood.
Yeah, there's actually a story under honorable mention about this, similar in San Jose, where the union is addressing concerns about how they are being managed and how their work is being managed and how that's affecting their efficiency. It certainly has a very bureaucratic impact in that you're going to be doing more reports and having to write up more paperwork, right? Every citation, every arrest, you're going to, at the end of your shift or whenever it is, you're going to have to write all that up. So the rank and file cops, they probably already hated that anyway, because they're being asked to do that, right? The mayor is really pushing it. The DA is really pushing it.
They don't hate it because they don't want to just arrest random people. That's probably their favorite part of the job. They just don't like putting the pen to paper.
It's the paperwork. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So you can still say fuck the cops and not sympathize with them at all. It's just because they're just griping about paperwork. But I haven't met one cop who didn't gripe about the paperwork at any point. So there's that. But it's the mayor, the DA, they don't give a shit. The mayor doesn't give a shit that this is happening or that the public defender is overwhelmed. He'd prefer that, right? Because then maybe they do, these guys do take settlements. The alleged criminals take settlements that they wouldn't normally take or not confess to, but take no contest, plead no contest, or plead, take a plea bargain for things that they normally wouldn't if they had even just the basic representation, right? So they want them to give up and get their punishment, and they don't care that the public defender doesn't have the resources they need, because that's not their world.
Well, like I said, if it gets bad enough, the only move for the public defender's office is to just across the board send letters on every case demanding a speedy trial.
Why not?
I think it grinds the system to a halt, and it brings the issue to the forefront. It brings it makes the issue an emergency, which it already is. If there's not enough fucking public defenders for the people that you're arresting because you decided you're going to fucking arrest everybody, I think it's already an emergency, right?
Right. Well, it's also an opportunity, a political one. If the public defender's office, not necessarily in San Francisco, but in other places, has produced pretty fine political aspirants and candidates and elected officials. So this guy, the current PD, if he'd also like to make a name for himself as well, I think that would accomplish both and kill two birds with one stone.
Right. And it's all, and I don't want to spend too much time in this, but I think it's just all about messaging. You're like, hey, we don't want to do this. We want to be able to investigate every one of these things and get to the truth and get to a resolution where our clients' rights are protected, and we have
due process.
Right, we've given our clients due process. That not being the case, we're going to gum up the works.
It's all in the name of doing that, right? It's all in the name of getting justice and getting due process by just doing everything you can for your clients. You have as an attorney, you have a duty of, I'm forgetting the exact phrasing.
It's similar to like a fiduciary responsibility, but for a lawyer.
Yeah, you have a duty to your client. You have a duty to represent your client to the best of your ability and with all options available to you, right? So if your client's willing to push that, right, if they're willing to be a part of that, then you by all means, they are almost obligated to do it.
I just wonder. This all then depends on the courts, right? Do the judges get pissed at the city or at the public defenders? And
right.
it might be. Yeah, they get pissed at both. Now things get real very quickly.
Right. Well, then they come and say, "Children, let's figure this shit out."
Imagine the judges going on strike. Like, imagine just oh God. I've already written the David Simon drama about this in my mind.
Well, we'll monitor the situation. It's going to come to a head around the budget process in the next few weeks, so we'll definitely be monitoring the situation and report back. But meanwhile, there were things happening in San Jose. Apparently,
oh no! Of course, there's things happening in San Jose.
Much to my chagrin, things just keep happening here. No, I have not, but I think I have an idea what you're referring to. What's the reference?
Oh, just the Judge Dredd is like it's the same message essentially as RoboCop. Like where you're an idiot if you think that if you like, oh yeah, stay out of trouble. That's the Judge Dredd has a very similar message to RoboCop. If you have like two brain cells connected by a synapse and you can like analyze media.
Well, as speaking of analyzing, similar to what's happening in San Francisco with Mayor Ed 210 performing crack and Brooke Jenkins, his henchwoman providing the crackdown on crimes. In San Jose, there's a new dashboard that the PD is using to track their engagements with unhoused people as opposed to housed people. And we're going to learn more about what that's revealing and how that data might be used in the future.
So is it transparency or is it targeting? San Jose police have been tracking officer interactions with the unhoused for 2 years now. And for the first time, you can see it all on a new public dashboard. Not everyone, though, is on board. NBC Bay Area's Marianne Favreau joins us now in San Jose to explain it to us, Marianne.
Mayor Mahan says he hopes the dashboard will give the public a better sense of the hidden costs of homelessness.
Homegirl, you don't have to stand right in front of a fucking cop car with its lights on.
You'll find out what they're doing in a second, too.
But homeless advocates say this is yet another way that the city is unfairly targeting the unhoused. As the city sweep of this encampment off Coleman Avenue continues, San Jose police unveiled a new dashboard with information about officer interactions with the unhoused since 2023.
In order to make the best possible decisions, policy decisions we can, we first have to understand the problem. And so that's part of what this is about. It's about informing the department's decisions on how to allocate resources, but it's also to show transparency within the community about how we're going about that.
This is what the dashboard looks like. It compares overall citywide events to those involving the unhoused. You can see only a small fraction of the city disturbances involve the unhoused. Mayor Matt Mahan supports the dashboard, adding, if we don't know the full cost of leaving someone to suffer on the streets, it makes the conversation about what we're willing to spend to get them off the streets even harder.
They're absolutely being targeted.
Sean Cartwright with the Unhoused Response Group disagrees with the mayor. She says the dashboard is unnecessary and unfair.
He's just targeting one protected class. He's not targeting disabled people. He's not targeting white people. He's just targeting unhoused people who are predominantly black and brown people.
But police say the dashboard is an innovative tool that allows the community to see
it's a pie chart.
How police respond to the unhoused, but where and when. In San Jose, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
I think this is like transparency, but it doesn't accomplish.
It's just not. What it points out is that, as we've posited so many times on this broadcast and network, that crimes generally, and studies show, are committed more often by people who are housed than folks who are not. So all this is really doing is exposing the fact that there's really, just the interactions the police are having with the unhoused population are much lower than the average for the whole city. Even that shows that there's just not. It's a whole much ado about nothing. We're creating, by instituting these plans to arrest and prosecute more unhoused people for refusing services. Right? We're just creating a problem where a bigger problem, and we're not solving the underlying problem. And it's our leaders just refuse to see this, right? They just seem to want to create a police state because it makes everyone feel better to say that we're going to arrest people. They should want housing. They should get off the street. People need to be more responsible and let themselves up by their bootstraps, ignoring the underlying social and systemic issues that keep people from having shoes in the first place. So it's unfortunate it's unfortunate that this group, I don't know that they're being targeted, but it's just that it's what to me is exposing a truth that we all know, that we have a lot of solutions in search of a problem happening when we should be just worried about helping people and not making this poor guy drag his tent from like one corner to the next. Right.
That looks very unsafe. I noticed that a homeboy was like dragging his belongings like down the left lane of the
or the median. Right. Yeah. Like I'm like, and that was my vision was like, oh yeah. So they swept this camp. So he's just moving, 100 yards away, or they told him, just go over there. I don't know how, I can't imagine this is fun. These are fun interactions for the police, honestly, especially the Cowboys.
They didn't sign up for a fun job.
Well, I mean, they signed up to shoot people, right? And have fun.
Like, what do you mean? He doesn't even have a dog for us to shoot.
Right? Like they have to and these people smell, right? It's and they've got like mangy animals and they could bite them. So yes, I don't think this is their first choice of things to do either. So hopefully we'll see some change, but it's not going to happen under the current administration.
I mean, we all know the solution. The solution is like public housing.
Yes, and we've known that for years, and it's just sad that our mayor
the northeast of this country done fucked that up by propping up public housing and then not maintaining it, and then turning into the ghetto. And
yes, it has
I know that's like not inclusive language or whatever, but that's like how it's seen by the people in the county, or even in like the downtown, the nice parts of the cities in the Northeast. All these public housing projects, they were put up to like great fanfare. And then anytime they needed funding, they're like, what do you mean fund that? That's where the poor people live.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. And I think you're pointing out that you're pointing out a perspective that it persists here. I constantly hear the word ghetto thrown around San Jose.
Or the projects.
Right? And it's like, excuse me, sir, or ma'am, or whoever, Karen, there is no part of San Jose, none, that anyone would define as the ghetto. Even the folks who live in some of the most impoverished areas of San Jose would not ever deign to call it that.
The ghetto is Los Gatos, right, where it's all like rich people, right? The ghetto doesn't mean poor and black.
Doesn't mean poor, exactly.
It means socioeconomically and or racially segregated.
Yeah, exactly, completely. So we take exception with that classification.
But right, just the idea of the projects, right?
Right. Well, and speaking of that, like the next story actually feeds right into that. Not to like create a segue, but
no, go ahead.
We're creating more of a police state in San Jose, and it's really it's going to lean more heavily on neighborhoods that are perceived as the ghetto or the projects, right, or the lower socioeconomic.
To the extent that low socioeconomic neighborhoods even really exist anymore in San Jose, to the extent that I'm just telling you, as somebody who thought about moving back to San Jose when I had to move, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
San Francisco is cheaper than San Jose.
Yeah, the only way you can afford to live here is if you're throwing down way much more of your salary than you should be, or you've somehow, or you're not. There are neighborhoods where maybe the cost of living isn't so low, but the quality of life is also exceedingly low, and the services you're getting.
It could be that you know somebody who your cousin's friend owns an apartment building, and you get the hookup.
It's just a lot of. It's also a lot of families living together, multi-generational housing,
and that's by the way, that's
couch surfing.
It's fairly recent that multi-generational housing has been like a problem or something that people look down on.
It depends on the culture, right? It completely depends on the culture you come from. We can go into that's a whole different episode of Downballot. Yes. But anyway, speaking of culture, so the city of San Jose, in its increasing desire to get more data driven about policing and just really take the police out of the picture, is going to be reverting. They used to have a system of these, but bringing online a new set of automated policing for speeding and red light running and really nefarious things like that. So we're going to find out more about the pilot program that's launching this year and what neighborhoods it's going to be impacting more than others.
Evergreen.
Yeah, we'll see.
Heads up if you drive South Bay streets. Speed and red light cameras are coming soon. This summer, San Jose will begin to install them in hopes of slowing down drivers and reducing accidents. NBC Bay Area's Ian Cole explains where they'll be and how you can give some input.
San Jose is following San Francisco's lead. The Bay Area's biggest city is about to install 33 speed cameras and 4 red light cameras. And if they catch you driving more than 10 miles an hour over the posted limit, you could expect a very unpleasant piece of mail. We're told they'll be focused in areas that historically have a high number of speeding reports and traffic accidents. Here's a look at where they're...
Okay, so the traffic accident, but the speeding reports, that's just a function of how aggressively the police enforce.
Yes.
Speeding cameras. The red ones are the red light camera location.
Oh, wait a minute. See this big empty part here in the purple area?
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
That is. Maybe that's Willow Glen.
Yeah,
in the Rose Garden. My neighborhood.
Yeah, that looks like
I am very concerned about the red light location here. I want to know where that is. I think I go down that street a lot, so I'm gonna have to be really careful at that light. But other than that, yeah, this is. You can see this looks like. You know what this looks like to me? The mayoral results map from the last 3-4 mayoral elections.
Should have voted for Mayor Ed 209, asshole.
Right. Like look, it's all the East Side. Now, granted, maybe like you said, the reports are one thing, right? If we had actual numbers, maybe we'd see a different map. But all they can go on is what's reported and what's
rich people never drive their brand new Mercedes over the speed limit, though.
On my street, they do, right? Outside our house that's not on this freaking list. And I want a camera, right, to catch all these asshats that are driving down my street with my 2-year-old running out there, I don't want to get off my lawn, but it happens. It happens all the time. We have, not sideshows, but we have people popping donuts in our intersections right here in this Tony neighborhood where our city council member once lived, where our county supervisor lives. These are not, not low social economic neighborhoods by any means, but that's not where we're policing. Obviously, we're going to over police autonomously, right, or anonymously, whatever you want to call it, digitally police the East Side and the people who can least afford to have more citations and more fines and more legal exposure, right?
And what the fuck's going on here, dude? People haul ass down Stevens Creek Boulevard when there's no traffic. What's going on here?
There hasn't been an accident for whatever reason, or they can justify it in so many ways.
No cameras on North First Street where all the fucking new condos are, and everybody fucking works for the Samsung building and all that shit. Look at that, no cameras here.
You can spin the numbers any way you want, but all this looks like to me is a map that's designed to give black and brown people a harder time. That's pretty much all I see when I look at this.
And as you go, I'm just telling you, as you go sort of south and west, where it borders like Campbell and Saratoga, there's no cameras.
Yeah. So that line. So these are council districts. The different color shading. So 6 is my district, or the Tony district. So the line between that and District 3 is pretty much 87, right? So if you look at this map, 87 is pretty much dividing this map in half.
The other thing is there's none downtown, but to be fair, nobody goes to downtown. So that's
yeah,
fine.
and they're all riding the train, producer Dave. They're all on the light rail, right?
No.
Or the 22. I take the 20. I take the 22.
These fuckers are going to give the 22 a ticket because it was going too fast.
It does fly. The express flies, man. I've taken that. It gets me from the east side to my house in 15 minutes. It's wonderful. God bless the 22.
But we want people to be aware that they're there. We're not going to surprise them with the cameras. We want them to slow down. We want them to obey red lights.
The first time you get caught by speed cameras, you'll get a $50 fine if you're just over that limit. However, the ticket will be issued by the city's Department of Transportation, meaning it won't go on your driving record. Right, driver Connor Gill.
Then where's the money go?
Thrilled to hear about the new additions.
I don't like it. I think it's kind of a scam. You know, they're just trying to tax people that are driving, trying to make a living. You should just have cops give tickets the normal way instead of.
To be fair, the camera doesn't shoot you.
Others don't.
It's true.
Especially if there's a 10-mile-an-hour buffer.
I think as long as it's cheap, I don't have a problem with it, but keeping our streets safe from people going too fast. A lot of crazy drivers out there, for sure.
That looked like he's in a neighborhood where there's no cameras.
Police, and the tickets for running a red light start at $400. If you roll through a red light to make a right turn, those start at $200. The city says the money collected will go to pay for the system, and any additional funds will be used on traffic safety projects around San Jose.
They're only taking a still photo. It will only be pointed at the rear license plate. It cannot be used for any other purpose.
The red light cameras are expected to be up by mid-July, and the speed cameras will be in place by this fall. The city is hosting a series of public meetings, including one tonight off Center Road, to talk more about the tech and the timeline. We'll put the information in this story on our website, NBCBayArea.com. In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Network security professionals, do your thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Please. But there is a caveat there. They do have to take a picture of the driver with the red light camera so that they can prove that it was you for some reason. That there's some rule that they have to follow to do that. So anyway, that's how they're handling traffic safety in San Jose. In Oakland, apparently some neighbors were not so excited about how the city was handling traffic safety and particularly sideshows in their neighborhood. So producer Dave, they decided to do the most down-ballot-y thing.
I'm going to be of friend if this is, I think this is in my neighborhood.
Really? Let's find out. Well, let's find out what they did.
Oakland, fed up with sideshows, did something when the city would not. Neighbors installed their own speed bumps. But now the city says the fix won't fly. NBC Bay Area's Valina Jones shows us why the solution didn't last and why neighbors are now demanding answers from Oakland.
After years of sideshows in this intersections and complaints to the city, neighbors took it upon themselves to install speed bumps in this area, and it worked. The problem is the city says that's not allowed and ripped them up.
The city going broke and you guys wasting money on this?
No. Oh, leave that guy alone. That guy, come on. That's not the motherfucker that signed the fucking order. Get out of here. Leave it. Leave. Let the working man work.
Seriously.
That's video of Oakland Department of Transportation crews tearing up homemade speed bumps at East 21st Street and 19th Avenue this week.
Nope, not my neighborhood.
Out of desperation 8 months ago after claiming they pled with the city for 4 years to address dangerous sideshows in the area and nothing was done.
We've had peace for the past 8 months, a hard-won peace. We paid for that peace without labor and money. And then the city overnight took it away without excuse and without notice.
Michael Andemescal and his neighbors spent $3,000 installing the speed bumps. It's a DIY project, Andemescal says the city's DOT director verbally approved last year.
He said they were going to be replaced in 8 years when the street is repaved, right? So we're like, okay, we can work with that.
The city told the group they were removed because they created a hazard. A day later, Andemescal says the sideshows returned.
I just don't understand how that is less of a hazard than having speed bumps, rubber speed bumps.
Councilmember Charlene Wong took over representing the district the day after the removal. The new council member is frustrated residents and her staff weren't warned before the city scrapped the bumps.
Being smart, being resourceful, and the fact that the residents did that, I think that's pretty remarkable.
Wong is working with city leaders to install a city-approved option to stop sideshows.
I have not gotten clarity from the director as to why that decision was made. He has concerns around liability, but there's also the liability of already sideshows have returned.
The city claims they're looking into the issue, but were unable to immediately comment on the removal or how they plan to address street safety in the area. Neighbors say they're prepared to bring speed bumps back if the city doesn't act soon. In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
So I'm like sort of two minds here, because on one hand, I like understand like, and this is like a, a non-intrusive, non-violent, fairly innovative way to, prevent, because you can't do the sideshows on the bumpy bumps, right? It doesn't work. The flip side in the city's position is probably something along the lines of, well, we don't know how these were installed. There are city, local, county, state, and federal regulations that are, about like regarding like speed bumps, and we don't know if these were followed. And so I understand that this is like a no-win, nobody to root for or against kind of situation. I just feel like, the alternative to this, if you want to get rid of the sideshows, and this sucks, is just start fucking, I don't know, shooting smoke bombs and shit into stink bombs, like childish solutions. But then like now you've started like a conflict, and there's no winning here.
Yeah. I'm pretty much of the same two minds that you are here. On the one hand, I sympathize with residents and people who live in this neighborhood, people who have children especially, and who shouldn't have to put up with that kind of shit in their neighborhood, and sideshows and all that bullshit. It's sideshows to me seem like the most base form of entertainment, but that's what people want to do. But the neighbors shouldn't have to deal with that. But at the same time, I've also worked in public service. I've worked in government. I've worked for alongside folks from Department of Transportation. I've worked alongside city council members, and I understand, law and regulation. And some regulations, some laws are important, right? Like this is the public realm. The streets are the public realm, and you cannot just go out there and install your own speed bumps. Now, good baldy on you for getting the verbal authority to do this, but verbal authorization from someone,
right? Somebody in chat just mentioned that, and it was maybe like off the record, or go ahead, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's not the same.
It's not the same at all,
fuck whoever told them to go ahead and do it too. That's right. The real fucker here is the one who told them to go ahead and do it, and even if it was like 10 or 12 people, you're looking at $80 or $100, a person, and that's a trip to the grocery store. Like you're not talking about zero money here.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of losers here. And I mean, don't do the thing, but also please don't encourage people to do the thing. But also you cannot be surprised and shocked and awed and harass public employees when the things that you were not supposed to install in the first place, that you should know that you're not supposed to do that willy-nilly without some sort of authorization and permits and anything else. That gets torn up, right? Man. They had no obligation to tell you that they were going to do this. It's like they finally noticed that you did this, right? They found that someone got around to complaining about it. Probably one of your neighbors probably complained about it. Like they don't like driving over fucking speed bumps every time they go to the fucking grocery store, right? Some people
that's
don't.
Tough shit. I think.
Right.
I think that's the speed bumps are even these little plastic ones, if they're installed properly, are probably the cheapest, most effective, and least non-violent, least harmful way to
address the situation. Except that
the people that are doing the sideshows, they're just going to go down the street.
True. One. And second, you still need to go through a process. You still need to go through that. They may be the most effective, efficient way to handle it. It still needs to go through the process, and that sucks, and it takes time, and it takes persistence, and it takes being the squeaky wheel, but that's what you got to do. And so the shock and awe that stuff got torn up is, to me, irrelevant. Like you should have known better in the first place. That being said, I get it, and it's very, like the council member said, it's an innovative way to do it. But the thing is, in this situation, right? Maybe it could have done more good than harm. In other hands, with other folks, if you let neighbors just do this, right? Just do anything they want on the public streets. I think a few neighbors get together and they do it, and the city looks the other way. The minute that starts happening, we lose complete control. Right. And then people who should not be doing anything in the public realm are doing things in the public realm because no one's stopping them. That's why it's important. As much as it sucks and it takes longer, it's important to find some way through the process to do it. Because otherwise we lost the social covenant and people just are going to do whatever they want to do.
And not for nothing, like
that's not going to help anything.
There used to be like public drag strips and like race tracks and like places where people could do recreational, like if they'd have to wear a helmet and make sure their car was safe or whatever, but there was somebody there to do it. And they used to have, they probably had one in this part of the East Bay. Famously, they had one in Fremont that was like really popular. And I think that like the solution here, so long as you have the land, is to like have places where it's legal for people to hot rod their cars around and shit. Not everybody's going to take advantage of it, and it's not going to get rid of this entirely. But you have a big open space where people can do this. You have sideshow night, right? Like where there's like a crowd and it's all sanctioned, and there's like you pay a fee to like watch, and you pay a fee to go, and there's like emergency personnel there and shit. And that would go off like fucking like amazingly well in Oakland, right? If there was like a community organization that set up a sanctioned sideshow, there'd be like taco trucks and DJs, and it would be like the biggest it'd be absolutely way better than First Friday here, you know?
Imagine if they had like a place that was, had a couple just underutilized sporting facilities with an enormous parking lot right off the freeway.
Oh, in an economically depressed part of the city too.
Where they could do something like that. Imagine that. Creativity would be a lot more helpful than this response. I get it from all angles. So let's try and figure out ways we can all work together to improve safety rather than either, taking the vigilante approach or taking the overly bureaucratic approach, right? And just ignoring the situation, and hoping that it goes away. Let's work together and figure this shit out. I think we can.
There's people in San Jose famously that get annoyed with Bike Party, and the people that get annoyed with Bike Party put out shit to fucking pop your tires. These people didn't do nothing like that. They just put shit down that fucking slows you down and makes it impossible to do donuts. So like I have way more sympathy for these people than if San Jose finds the people putting out fucking little spike strips and shit for Bike Party. Fucking throw the book at those people.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like you said, more than likely, just like with an encampment sweep, this is just going to take the problem down a block. So what are we doing, like you mentioned, in a more macro, meta underlying sense to solve for the problem, right? As opposed to this is an immediate fix for their neighborhood. What are we doing to address the issue and this desire that people have to spin their cars around?
You could throw in the Oakland Coliseum parking lot if you put up like barriers and shit so that everybody was relatively safe, and you let people fucking do donuts. Oh, come on. Charge people fucking $20 to go do donuts. Oh, come on. That is the most Oakland fucking thing ever.
Producer Dave on the spins.
I'm fucking anybody. There's so much it's not like San Jose where there's like 5 DJs. There's so much competition here.
There's peeps. There's people.
I'm lucky that I fucking know people. My God.
I got to come to your shows then to show support. Anyway, that's winners and losers for this week here on Downballot. As always, not too many winners, unless if you were rooting for someone, they probably lost. We're going to move on down ballot. We've got a couple stories this week. 2 of them they're both from stories we've been tracking, so I didn't feel the need to bump them up. So we're just getting a little more information about both. So first story relates to one we've been tracking with the creation of a new park along the Great Highway.
We got to go to that park. Oh my God, let's pick a day where we know it's going to be really hot where you live and go out to the beach, because it'll be 20 degrees cooler there.
Yeah, we'll bring the bad baby. We'll harass some of these recall supporters. But anyway, local supervisor is facing and will now face, it looks like, a recall effort over his support for closing the Great Highway to create a park. And we're going to learn more about what's happened from NBC Bay Area.
Recall for Bay Area voters. This time it's San Francisco Supervisor Joel Engardio. He's fighting to keep his job. Why do voters want him out? It's all about closing the Great Highway. Here's NBC's Christy Smith.
In the Sunset District, it's not hard to find signs of frustration over Prop K, the initiative that ultimately closed part of the Great Highway to make way for a park. Many here.
Every time they show this park, I'm like, why did I not go there today?
Right?
Blame their supervisor, Joel Engardio, for championing the measure. Many channeled that anger into a recall petition that now has enough support to make it to the ballot. The Department of Elections announced today that petition has enough valid voter signatures to move forward.
It's amazing.
Albert Chow supports the recall and says it was a long time getting to this point.
We went up against a really big political machine, and I'm really happy that the people won over the money, won over the people politicians that didn't want to hear the voice of their own.
So the sunset is the money. I just want to make sure he power to the people. No, fuck off.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You live in one of the richest parts of the city.
This is all AstroTurf. It's all AstroTurf.
I think that this part of the city might be richer than the Castro, which is crazy.
Oh, that's why they didn't want the park. They didn't want people from the Castro and from other parts of the city coming to their neighborhood. That's pretty much why they don't want the park.
Some don't feel Engardio is listening to his constituents and questioned his transparency. But the supervisor says he's ready to fight for his job and believes the majority of his district backs his decision to push for a park on what used to be part of the Great Highway.
I am confident that a majority of residents and voters in the Sunset will reject this recall.
Engardio says he has faith that voters know the work he's done for them.
Because they love the job I'm doing. Even if they disagree with me on one issue about Sunset Dunes, they like all the work I'm doing on public safety, education, helping bring out night markets and things like that.
A special election will happen on September 16th. Only residents of Engardio's district will qualify to vote in it. In San Francisco, Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah, somebody in the chat pointed out, that guy when he takes interviews, put the camera up, friend. We don't want to look up your nose. These little, but these little things are important. Especially in a recall where you're gonna have a really low turnout. It's really important that every one of your media hits looks good and that you look good.
Optics are incredibly important, right? I marvel at. I mean, this is a San Francisco City County supervisor, right? And running his own, webcam. I am constantly shocked at how awful the hits look for some national or international news reporters, right? Or consistent guests, right? And talking heads. Have you not learned by now? My God, figure it out. And if you can't get it to work wherever you are, maybe don't do that video hit.
Or find a teenager.
Or find a way to make it work. How in the world do you not know that looks bad, right? That's the thing to me. It's at this point, when you've got this going on, right? This thing. How do I know that this is not a good look? How do I not see that I should change the angle, right? And figure something else out. So yeah, I'm struggling to understand how that happens this day and age, but I feel so badly for this dude because there is a very solid chance, as we've seen, that he could go down. He could get recalled over this issue of all things. And yet the park will live on. The park will be there. The park was created by a whole separate measure, right? And they're not going to get a referendum on that. So all they can do, the people who are pissed about it for whatever reason, is go after this
right, they're
poor
not
guy.
Trying to enact change. They're trying to enact revenge.
Right, exactly. So that's why I hope they fail. And I hope that like he said, the majority, I do believe that the majority of his district would, vote to, not to recall him. If
he has a fundraiser that's voted anywhere but in this park, he's an idiot.
Right. He should be standing in the park, collecting donations in a little jar, right? As people pass by, throw me $1. Absolutely. But he shouldn't have to face it, but it's entirely possible that he will get recalled because of the electorate that votes in special elections. So depending on when this race is held and this election is held, if it's a special, just odd date election, it's going to be the frothy people that are going to win the day. And the frothy people are out for blood, right? And out for revenge. And even if a majority of his district would support him in this effort, their majority is not going to vote, right? Like enough of those people aren't going to vote to make an impact. And I'm worried that he'll lose simply because they were able to get it on the ballot, right? They obviously spent some money, brought in some consultants and spent some money. I don't know for what exact reason. I can't believe it was entirely about the park to get this guy recalled, right? Like, this is not the people power effort. There was some absolute astroturfing going on here, and some people who are just out for blood for a variety of reasons, and there's got to be some other underlying things, maybe about going back to his election. I believe I forget who he beat to get this seat, right? But it could have something to do with that as well, and some sour grapes over that. So, as recall normally does these days. So it's you're right. It's revenge. This is not about changing any kind of policy. or reverting anything. It's about revenge.
I mean, this guy should be. I'm serious. This guy should be Mr. What do they call it? Sunset Dunes Park. This guy should be Sunset Dunes Park guy now. Yeah, no, he should be. He should put up a pop-up office, right, or some sort of adjust the camera. He should be reading his email and shit on the beach. I'm adjusting my visuals, right? On our 8th best local news podcast or vidcast in California. Stream. I'm trying to use the word stream more, producer Dave. I'm so sorry. My verbiage is just lacking. That's our problem. The councilman calls this a podcast. Right. I mean, for listener, I do apologize that people who do listen to us religiously and do not get to watch the live stream. But if you really want all the fun stuff, like if you want to see all the random shit that I pile up in my office here, come on come on the stream, and the chat's so much more fun too. So I think that what's going to happen here, it's going to be another one of these things, right? Where even people who hate the park, 2 or 3 years from now, they're just going to hang out at the park. Yeah. They're going to love it. They're not going to have their worst fears are not going to be realized. It's not going to cause a traffic snarl because traffic's already snarled in San Francisco. So it's not going to make anything worse on 19th Avenue. And second, they might actually like the black and brown people that come to their park and hang out and find that it's nice to have more cultural diversity in your neighborhood because it makes everyone happier and more collaborative and more friendly. And the way it's laid out, it's almost like it's an extension of Golden Gate Park, which is pretty nice. Everything about it is great. Yeah, it's a great idea. I don't see why. I personally never drove on maybe not never, but rarely, maybe once or twice in my whole life have I ever driven on the Great Highway. So I was not one of these people that was just passing through, that the neighbors are worried about stopping now because there's a park. So I don't understand what the hubbub was about in the first place. Yeah, there's probably some problems around transit access just because the Sunset is not always super transit accessible, but that's not what people are talking about. And Judah. All right. Well, moving back down the peninsula to that place that San Franciscans don't really know exists, San Jose. There's still a special election happening, and it's happening in less than a month now. The final runoff election to replace departed city council member and now convicted pedophile Omar Torres on the city council in District 3, the downtown district, and the two candidates had a forum where not a lot of people came, but they had a forum and they talked about their things. But yeah, I don't know who's listening at this point. But we'll see more in this clip.
Now to your voice, your vote, with ballots about to hit mailboxes in San Jose. Next month, people who live downtown will decide who will replace former city council member Omar Torres. He resigned in November and last month pleaded no contest in a child molestation case. The top two candidates are now heading to a runoff election next month. Tonight, ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez spoke with both of them.
I do believe that San Jose is a place where the sky is the limit.
I have continually used my platform to push the city to think bigger and to work faster to solve our housing affordability crisis.
The candidates vying to represent San Jose's District 3 on City Council faced off in a forum. Gabby Chavez Lopez.
Oh no, that was like a chemtrail conference. That's how many seats were empty.
Both on Thursday during the event hosted by the
They have nice flowers though.
Downtown Association.
As a mother and an employer in this district, I think a lot about long-term
term. I think a lot about decisions we make today having impacts on our families.
With my time on the Planning Commission, I got to see the way that the city works up close and personal a little bit. I saw some things that were working well in my opinion, and I saw some things where I thought there was frankly some room for improvement.
District 3 encompasses the heart of downtown San Jose. Both candidates said they would vote no on two policies proposed by Mayor Matt Mahan. One, arresting unhoused people who refuse multiple offers of shelter, and the other, tying council member pay to performance. Another question addressed housing. 0 projects broke ground for multifamily buildings within District 3 last year.
I think we, at this point, need a task force designed as a housing forward task force to really hyper-focus on this.
Okay, now I don't like either of these people.
It's very concerning. Many developers have brought that to my attention, some in the room.
Cities like Austin, which has built 10 times as much housing as San Jose has recently, we can see that rents are flat or declining in Austin while they've continued to rise here. So I think we should learn from other cities and see what works.
We spoke with Leah Tenisketter, president of the San Jose Chamber of Commerce.
If your employees cannot find housing, they're moving farther away or they're moving away.
Every vote will count in this runoff election. In April's special election, Tordios narrowly secured his spot by 6 votes.
I feel like I still don't know how I'm going to decide. These were my 2 top candidates, though.
The runoff election will be held on June 24th. In San Jose, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
So that's a little bit weird because I think, if I remember correctly, when Mahan endorsed this guy, Mahan specifically mentioned tying council people's pay to performance, and now this guy's saying that he would vote against such a thing.
Producer Dave, so observant and reflective. Yes, absolutely. That is a flip now from.
Well, I don't know. Are you
Tordios
supposed to when somebody endorses you? Are you supposed to just immediately start debating them? I think yes, actually. If you don't agree with what they're saying.
No, I mean the thing is in this circumstance, Anthony, his message was, I don't agree with the mayor on everything, and I won't support all of his, I don't support all of his policy proposals. We do align on enough things where I'm comfortable taking his endorsement and going out there and shaking his hand and being on TV with him, but we don't agree on everything. And the one thing he cited at the time was he didn't agree with the responsibility to shelter or arrest the unhoused policy. But he did say that he was on board with time pay to performance and using metrics and data to inform, the efficacy of of city programs and city officials.
Maybe he maybe he means it for other people that work for the city, but not for himself.
And it is already, it actually has been implemented for department directors and department heads. They already have to justify their existence every year in order to, I don't think, get the COLA raises that they're entitled to, but for any other kind of performance increases, there has to be justifications. So they want to tie this to the council, and Tordios said, okay, no. And now he said yes. And now he's saying no again, because he's getting a lot of blowback from folks in the more progressive camps who are upset with him for taking Mahan's endorsement, who are upset with him aligning his rhetoric and his own campaign rhetoric, and even right down to his attacks on his opponent with the mayor's rhetoric and with the rhetoric of the mayor's supporters. He's also accepted the endorsement of the mayor's preferred candidate, right? His deputy chief of staff, the Mennonite, who we discussed earlier. So he's trying to push back in that.
He's a neckbeard.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
Come on. The Mennonites don't need to be catching strays on Down Ballot.
I know. I'm so sorry. I apologize to the Mennonite community on behalf of Down Ballot. Please churn some butter for us. We will buy all of it. We would love your home churned butter. I love good butter. Anyway, butter. So there's a lot of disappointment with Anthony from progressive camps, especially like younger people and others who are very idealistic and still believe that when someone says something, they're going to follow through on it. So there was even a push to potentially reopen or explore the Democratic Party's endorsement of him. I know the Young Democrats Club actually explored the endorsement again and opened it up. So he's facing that kind of challenge from within his own ranks. So he's trying to shore that up. but he's also doubling down in a lot of other areas that's building him credibility in the mayor's camp. Meanwhile, I don't think Gabby does herself any good talking about task forces and, focus groups and all this. We all know that the problem is, but she also was playing to the crowd, right? Developers, business people. This was a Chamber of Commerce Downtown Association event, which is also why it was very lightly attended by people, like real people, voters, because they held it in the.
There was fucking nobody there.
They held it in the Rotary Summit Center, which is on the 7th floor of the 4th Street Garage. If you've ever been there, it's a ballroom up top. I don't think that most people who live on ground level in the real world would even know it exists. And if you're not in Rotary or in some sort of fancy club that has events there, or have gone to a gala dinner there, right? So yeah, you're not going to see the rank and file.
If somebody's doing a legal party there, everybody would find it.
Yeah, right, for sure. And you might see more voters there at this kind of thing. But yeah, that's why. And looking around that crowd, like the shots they had, the B-roll shots, it's all people who are in one camp or another, and they're all just there to support their candidate and or iPhone camera, record everything, every word that the other person says, so it all can be dissected later. Another example of the massive spotlight that this is, that this race is being run under, that everyone expected, right, would have, massive turnout, massive awareness. Why? Because there was a controversy involving the former council member.
At this point, the two people, they seem so similar, they should just flip a fucking coin and save everybody a bunch of money.
That's pretty much what it's going to be at the end of the day. At the end of but that being said, when in the final analysis, this councilman, or at least my half of our esteemed panel here, will support whoever is not endorsed by Mayor Ed 209. Let's just say that. No matter what.
Me too. Too. Just by default.
Gabby can propose all the task forces she wants. I will still support her because she's not doing it to support this fucking asshole. So that, pardon my French, but that's sort of where we're at this point. I'm so tired of it. I'll go with that. But you're right.
You don't vote. You're not in the District 3 anyway.
I'm not. I'm a former District 3 resident, longtime District 3 resident. So I do care, and I do a lot of work downtown. And a lot of my friends and my nonprofit artsy fartsy friends do a lot of work downtown. So it does matter what happens there to me.
Speaking of our friends in the entertainment industry, I would be willing to bet that some of our friends in the entertainment industry hold a position in opposition to yours. Some of the dinosaurs we've spoken about in the past.
Yes, very much so. There are gatekeepers in that space just as much as anywhere else, right? So, yeah, we'll see where they come down on this race. A lot of them are.
I've already seen Anthony. Yeah. Big event promoter. Definitely through whatever weight they have behind Anthony.
Is his name rhyme with Bill?
Two actually. There are two, but yes, one of them, the name does rhyme with Bill, and he's keeping the gate where there's, what's behind the gate? I don't know, not bike party. So,
something else.
Anyway,
we'll do a very special.
This is now the sour grapes part of the show.
Well, no, we can do a very special episode of Down Ballot that has some confluence with local love. Maybe do a local love version of Down Ballot one of these days, where we explore the local music scenes.
Oh God.
That might be in the politics involved.
Who would love to come onto that, and the media would love that, because she was a woman.
We would need that,
trying to break in as a promoter, and she was, she was treated the way that you would expect a boys' club to treat a woman trying to break in as a promoter. So
I think that would be a very interesting episode of Down Ballot. We should think about doing that, taking a political look at local music.
Food for thought. I don't live there anymore. Fuck them.
Food for thought. I'm down. I don't mind ruffling feathers. They have, and at the end of the day, we all respect each other sometimes.
So what do we got for get your shit together?
Well, as you'd expect, as everyone's saying, the Democratic Party has to get its shit together. So they did a bit of that this weekend, at least in California. The good wife and I were actually in attendance. The California Democratic Party had its semi-annual or annual convention. This is where we elected our party officers for the next couple years, and then heard a lot of speeches from a lot of esteemed people and video visits by other people. But really, a lot of the work that happens at a convention is behind the scenes. It's in the caucuses. It's in the committee meetings. It's at the bar.
Breakout groups.
Yeah, it's at the bar at 11:30 on Saturday night. That's where it's in the elevator going back to your room where I met Howard Dean once. That's where the real shit happens at these things. So while you're going to see a lot of the fancy speeches in this clip, just know that the back room and the smoky room still applies 100%. It just may not be as smoky because nobody smokes anymore.
Or if they are, it's a vape.
Or if they are, it's vaping. I'm sorry. If they are, it's vaping, and they go outside to do it, and they don't bring it into the room because the hotel would find them. Anyway, we're going to hear more about that from ABC7.
Your voice, your vote. California Democrats are mapping out their path forward as the party grapples with its losses in last year's presidential race.
Questions over who will lead the state once Governor Newsom is termed out were front and center during the state's Democratic Party convention in Anaheim over the weekend.
ABC 7 News political reporter Monica Madden is here now. And Monica, we got a better idea of the front runners during the convention.
We're getting there, Dan, and part of the reason why it's not really emerged yet, the two top people, is for a couple reasons. Number one, the race is crowded with more than a dozen Republican and Democratic candidates officially running for governor. But the biggest question right now is whether former Vice President Kamala Harris will run and if she's who Democrats want to lead California.
Over the weekend, California Democrats converged to game plan their future.
By demonstrating to the country how our values and our policies can be the prototype, not the punchline.
Despite dominance in the Golden State, Democrats are focusing on how to rebound from nationwide losses in 2024.
Every Democratic candidate is going to spend a lot of time talking about Donald Trump. At this point, that just sort of comes with the job. But it appears that Californians, in addition to the partisan back and forth, are looking for a candidate who can articulate a vision on affordability, on housing and other issues, on cost of living, on homelessness.
Headliner and former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz bluntly telling the crowd Democrats are losing working class voters.
But somewhere we strayed from our North Star. Right here, right now, Trump and the Republicans are going to screw stuff up enough with the working class. We're going to have an opportunity to be their champions.
Notably missing was his running mate, Kamala Harris. She appeared only in video amid chatter about if she'll enter the race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom.
Our fight to advance freedom and justice must continue.
If Harris decides to get in, she'd be an instant frontrunner. But experts say it wouldn't be without a primary fight.
She'd probably have the most uphill fight of any frontrunner that I've ever seen in politics, California or elsewhere. Voters generally don't like coronations unless they like the person being coronated.
Saying growing questions surrounding President Joe Biden's cognitive health could hurt his former VP.
The biggest challenge for Harris is the Joe Biden question. What did she know and when did she know it?
Harris is expected to make a decision by the end of summer.
Other candidates for California governor include former Congresswoman Katie Porter, former Health Secretary Javier Becerra, Lieutenant Governor Eleni Koulianakis on the Democratic side, and for Republicans, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and former Fox News host Steve Hilton are hoping for a GOP comeback. Those are just some of the more than a dozen who are already interested in running, and we are exactly 1 year out from the 2026 primary on June 2nd next year. Live in the studio, Monica Madden, ABC 7 News.
So I'm kind of two minds here. First of all, I don't like this shit about like, oh, what did she know about Joe Biden's fucking cognitive decline and when did she know it? What the fuck? What is she giving him an MRI and shit? She's the vice president. Her job was to like support the president's fucking agenda. That was her job. I think she did dirty in 2024, like mega dirty. I think the Democratic Party through incompetence and fecklessness did her dirty. She was coronated as the nominee, even though Joe Biden during the last cycle had said that he planned basically, and these weren't the words, but the gist I got from him in 2020 is, I think I have the only political machine that can beat Donald Trump right now. And so we're going to run for office and I'm not running for re-election. It's not what he said, but those were the noises he was making. Then the fucking hubris of an old white man took over and he's like, oh, I'm going to run again. Now I'm not going to run again. Oh, look, there's just 3 months till the election. Whoopsie poopsie. I guess it's your problem now. Like, I don't love Kamala, but you don't got to love Kamala to know that she got fucking did dirty.
Completely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And the rhetoric that Dan Schnur used, their fellow USA Trojan Dan Schnur fight on, around what did she know and when did she know it? That
Watergate shit.
It's exactly. It's like word for word out of the coverage of Watergate. Like, what did Richard Nixon know and when did he know it? Right? Like that was the whole question. Because then it wasn't about the crime. Like he didn't commit the crime. It was the cover up. Right? That's why he got himself in trouble. He didn't. Yes.
But being an old man who's like not remembering things as well actually isn't a crime. So
no, exactly, precisely, and it. And there is no, at this point, as far as we know, controversy about his ability to do the damn job, right? And there's no one calling for that investigation of that anyway. So she's being prosecuted for something that she has nothing, she really didn't have anything to do with and shouldn't have had, and had no place talking about anyway. Even if she did know something, like that wouldn't have been her place to talk about it. But it's not some sort of like loyalty to the country situation.
Advisor hat. Is it worthwhile for her to say, I did dirty? Is it worth potentially burning the bridges of like the old guard to come out and be like, here's what happened?
No, not in the context of an election. If she wants to run for governor, she just has to make it about running for governor. She has to make it about California. That's what the vote, from what I can tell, that's what the voters want. They're sick and tired of the same old. She's going to have to deal with that anyway. The baggage will be there whether she says, I got done dirty or not, right? Or I wasn't on board with that or not. Or even if she told all, right? She'll still have that stink on her, and she'll have to get over that with some voters, but it's not going to do her any good to embrace it. She's got to embrace the fact that voters really want is someone who is not the thing that's really would tear her down, frankly, in a greater context, maybe in a more general election, maybe not the primary, but still that's what this is in California, an open primary. The thing that will drag her down is that she will be seen as the establishment. She was the vice president. She's the most powerful Democrat in California at this point, even more powerful than Gavin Newsom, or at least she can rally more support than Gavin Newsom would be able to. Notice he did not appear at this convention. He is persona non grata right now in a lot of Democratic circles. She would not fare well in that space. And right now, that's kind of where we're at. We are in a space where whether you're Democrat or Republican or independent, most voters just want change. They want to throw whoever's in there out. If they could just clean the whole house, they would do it and install whoever. And they'll believe anybody. They will believe any con artist, or legitimate contender who tells them that they can solve these problems and get things done, because they don't see anything getting done. And I think they're right. And yet at the same time, I also believe that we have the potential to get things done. It's that we don't have the political will from the people who were electing, the good people who were electing to do it. So they're right. They're justified in thinking we need change. But unfortunately, it sometimes comes at a cost. That's why we have Trump. That's why we have Mayor Ed 210 and Mayor Ed 209 in the first place. It's because most people are just looking to throw the bastards out. Even Barbara Lee benefited from that.
Is there a chance that Matt Mahan jumps in?
I think so. Yeah, 100%. I think that he doesn't need no one needs a real long ramp in this race, right? There's so many candidates out there, and they're all struggling to raise money and get traction, right? And they're all kind of waiting for this Kamala issue to drop. If I was her political advisor, honestly, I would tell her not to run. I would say, you don't need this shit. You don't need this hassle. I'm sorry. Being vice president is the best gig you're ever going to have. You're not going to run for president again. You shouldn't run for president again because of the baggage. There's just no way you're going to win that race.
Right. So and this is, again,
write your memoir.
Like, I have my problems with Kamala, but what happened in the 2024 election, that wasn't her fault.
What I would tell her to do
that, because she what if she would have turned down the nomination? Then what happened? Like, you know what I'm saying? She was like, those, how do you like your choices? I'm sure she was like, well, I kind of don't. Right.
Yeah. As her political advisor, I would tell her that there was no other alternative there. And I would also tell her, write your memoir. Just start writing your memoir now. Say all those things, all the things you want to say. Let's do it. You will do the country good. You will make your kids money so they never have to worry ever again, right? You'll sell enough books for that. You're already doing pretty well, but you don't have to worry about money ever again. And you'll be doing the country a service by telling the truth and exposing all this bullshit. That's what I would tell her to do. And don't run for office ever again. It's not worth it at this point. She can have so much more influence as a political force. Right. Look at Obama. Right. He can move fucking mountains as a yes, he was former president, but still he's got no power anymore, like political power. He's got he's got all he has is political power. He doesn't have any governance power, but he's got the weight, right? And she has that ability, she has that potential to be a real leader of the party and of people and of movements without having to be an elected official. In some ways, it's almost a distraction from the real work of moving community. That's why look at Stacey Abrams, right? Why has she decided to just go the movement route, right? Like, she's not running for, maybe in the future, but she's not running for office anymore. She's leading people. She's using her influence and her power to move people. That might be the more effective route for her, and let all these other folks, figure it out and see who bubbles to the top.
Is the progressive wing of the Democratic Party sort of suffering from not having a strong bench too here, especially in California? I think I look more nationally, and we think of the people that are like more progressive, and they end up getting like shit on by the old guard of the Democratic Party, right? You look at like the AOC, you look at basically the squad, the women of color in Congress, their colleagues in the Democratic Party are just immediately willing to cut and run on them, especially on issues around Palestine. And it's like Gaza, or issues around like healthcare, issues around like what poor people need, any of this sort of stuff where it cuts against like the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. I don't think the progressive wing has done a good job building up a bench, and to some extent even supporting each other. I think the only one who's done an okay job of that in the Democratic Party is a person who has been an independent most of the time, and we're talking about one Mr. Bernard Sanders, right?
Bernie, yeah, and that should say a lot, right? About the whole situation. I think it does happen locally. It happens within local politics. That's happening at the state level. The progressives are eating each other alive, and the progressives are attacking the neoliberals, and the neoliberals are attacking the moderates, and everyone's eating each other alive. A lot of it's over Palestine. A lot of it is over these bigger issues, more social issues, and we can't seem to get our act enough together. We're like eating our own too. Like, if you stray from the line, right? I'm in chat groups with all different types of Democrats, because I've constantly held myself to a standard of being a convener and a facilitator of conversation and a collaborator. And I'm not here to spark battles and controversies. I'm here to bring people together and help us work together, right? So I'm in a lot of different groups, and I see the vitriol that they all have and the animus they all have for each other. And it's like, we're all, at the end of the day, we all have the same kind of basic values. I don't understand how we, gotten so far astray to the point where like factions came into this convention like geared up for a battle, right? Like wired up. Nothing ended up happening. There weren't like massive confrontations like we had at previous conventions and sort of, rallies and counter rallies.
Would you say it was poorly attended?
No, it was attended as much as you typically will see, and it was a lot of interest. It's just that fight never materialized, which is good, but both sides kind of came in expecting a fight, and when you do that, you create the potential for there to be a fight, right? Like you can absolutely create a self-fulfilling prophecy of going into this space in a combative mood, and suddenly shouldn't be surprised that you get combative vibes out of it, right? Whereas if you came in with a peacemaking vibe, maybe you would we would have a more peaceful situation. You wouldn't be so. I heard people saying they were afraid to walk around the convention with a Palestinian flag pin or conversely with a Star of David pin, right? Like that shouldn't be
first of all,
the case.
This is I don't want to spend too much time on this, but a Star of David pin is a Jewish symbol that has been appropriated for the flag of a nation state, whereas the Palestinian flag is the flag of a nation, or the flag of apartheid within a colony within a nation. We'll say.
Then the Israeli flag, then shall we say, to be apples to apples. But again, that's just kind of, I think you did another episode of another show, but you absolutely touched on one of the major messaging issues with this entire problem, this entire situation. We're talking about religion when we should be talking about nation states and vice versa. But anyway, long story short, Democrats do need to get their shit together. I would absolutely advise Kamala to stay out of this gubernatorial race. And yes, Mayor Ed 209 could 100% be a last minute aspirant if he sees confusion and disarray and a path down the middle, because the Republicans are just throwing out like sacrificial lambs, like whoever will take the bait and wants to make a name for themselves and sell a book one day
and go on a podcast,
governor. Right. And they're going to lose, right? Or have their own podcast, right? They're going to lose, and they'll have their podcast and they'll make some money and it'll be great for them. So he might see a lane there.
Right. I mean, the only one of those people I saw whose name I recognized, who I'm like, well, all right, was Katie Porter. I like Katie Porter.
Right. Saw her at the convention. she took a picture with the bad baby.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice lady. I've heard she's a staff abuser,
again,
though.
I mean, she's younger than a lot of the Democrats, the Democrat establishment. But by that, I think she's like my age, right? Like I'm not saying I'm not saying that we need a 25-year-old to run, but like, where are the like, there's no bench. There's no bench.
AOC, and well, here there's nobody in California, but yeah, nationally there's like AOC, and then there's AOC. God help us. I would love to see. I would love to see that. We'll see what happens in a couple of years. But anyway, well, that was the main docket. So I thought we'd have a little palate cleanser, since we might have a couple more moments, just to take a quick sound bath. So we can do that here. It's the KTVU.
My name is Malcolm Clemens Young. I'm the Dean of Grace Cathedral here in San Francisco, California. We were founded in 1849, so in the gold rush time, San Francisco was only had just been named San Francisco. It used to be Yerba Buena right before that. And so really the church grew up with the city. It's also been a place which has been, like, welcomed various different kinds of people and done different kinds of things. You know, Duke Ellington had his jazz mass in the 1960s. Martin Luther King Jr. preached here. Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama preached here. Jane Goodall preached here. Really, from the 60s on, we've been having these different kinds of events that are really for the whole community. And
this is my first sound bath. My cousin and I, we've actually been trying to just do more stuff together. We've kind of been feeling a little bit of seasonal depression, and we're discussing like what activities we can do that'll make us happier. And I found this, actually a friend recommended it, and then I found one online for today, so that's kind of what inspired it. Just to kind of like join in the community and like feel something together, and maybe hopefully like, you know, find some joy and happiness in like the meditative state that we'll be in.
And we're all kind of searching for our own meaning in life, and that finds expression in artistic ways and in church kinds of ways. But you know, Grace Cathedral really it does not exist just for the people who are here at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. It really is for everybody. It's a real important part of our DNA. But here, the art is for everybody. You know, anybody who comes here to do sound bath or yoga or come to church on a Sunday morning, I mean, it's a way that you can connect with something just much deeper and much more profound.
My name is Eva Wu Slavitt. I am the canon for marketing and communications here, and I also run the Mind, Body, Spirit programming at Grace Cathedral. It is very popular. We do this monthly, and we average about 450 people per sound bath. It's extremely relaxing, and also what you'll see are people coming with all of their materials to truly relax. We have people bringing in their own pillows, their sleeping bags, their blankets. People are setting up on the labyrinth, and the music is amplified throughout the cathedral. What is very famous about Grace Cathedral is the acoustics of our cathedral, and so what you will see is a delay from the sounds that resonate. And part
Somebody hit the gong.
of a sound bath is that, and having it in Grace Cathedral, is that the sound will resonate into the ground, and as you lie down, you'll feel it in your body.
My name's Sam Jackson, and I'm part of the collective of multi-instrumentalists that play here once a month at Grace Cathedral for the sound bath. The acoustics are quite special and play into the reason why we choose to be here.
Here we go.
Yeah, probably find your place, turn off your cell phone, and maybe rest or close your eyes. It's not going to be a visual performance that you'll need to focus on, so it's going to be more about letting go, and letting yourself be immersed in the surround sounds.
Yes.
everybody. That's one of the things that makes a cathedral unique. Well, in the old days, there wasn't a way to really belong at Grace Cathedral. If you didn't, there's pretty much, you could get baptized and be a member of the church in that way. But now we have a new way of being a member. You can be a Grace Arts member. And so it's a great way to be part of the cathedral and hear updates about things that are happening, and to participate in yoga and the different artist in residence events we have, and be a member of Grace Cathedral, but without being a member of the religious part of it.
Didn't really know what to expect when we came here. I was looking for something spiritual. I wanted part of the religion to feel closer in comfort, and then just to experience the whole thing in a church with different people around me. And I don't know. I really didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to experience it. Hey, you never know. You don't know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
That was
Very
cool.
true.
I don't know if I'd go because it seems like a rave without the rave, but
it's a different kind of rave. I love the reuse. I love the vibe and getting more people into a beautiful space. Cathedrals can be very, if you take the religiosity out of it, they can be really spiritual places. I think of the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. It's just a beautiful church. Just the design and the architecture alone just blows your mind, and you just forget about the fact that it was constructed because some guy climbed up on a cross 2,000 years ago.
Well, to be fair, the cops killed him. At least that's what the story says.
Right. All Romans are bastards. So I'm interested in checking it out. And churches actually absolutely have some of the best acoustics, and temples and other religious institutions for good reason. There's a reason why Radiohead recorded OK Computer in an old church. So yes, more, or I'm sorry, maybe it was Arcade Fire I'm thinking of, recorded in an old church. So yeah, more music in church confluence would be really fun to see in the future. So. That's your palate cleanser. Another thing for this, once again, overextended episode of Down Ballot, because we just love talking to each other.
Yeah, that's fine. I maybe during red light I might do some of these honorable mentions, but I think we're like way over time. So
yeah, the bad baby's calling me.
That's fine. That's fine. And if you're interested in what maybe we didn't cover but that caught our attention this week, of course you can get the information from the show notes. And with that, I'm gonna put you alone on the screen so you can read out the show.
Thanks very much, Producer Dave, as always, for manning the dials, staffing the dials, or however you want to put it. And thanks to you, viewer and listener and chat and everyone who joins us. We do this almost every week at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time until we decide to stop. And then we go right into public comments. So stay tuned for the red light portion of the show with Producer Dave as always. I am the Councilman. You can find me just about anywhere. Go to echoplexmedia.com to learn more. And you can make sure you get vaxxed. Make sure you wear a mask. Pants are completely optional. This is Audible Smoke. We hope you have a great week. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. I pick the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, And what we want is to jam, so sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do. And what we want is to jam, so sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we want to do. And what we want is to jam, so sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do. And what we want is to jam, so sit back and enjoy the band.
Marley say that he like jamming and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do.
We do what we want, and what we want is to jam, so sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want to do, what we want is to jam, so sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want to do, what we want is to jam, so sit back and